about 1,000 applications and about 184 interviews. We were like a factory at one point, just applying and cranking out emails and stuff.
Were doing historically versus what you would be doing with the whole AI and everything coming up?
I've heard from a couple people who were, insiders at like Google and Apple and stuff, and they're saying that
the following is a conversation with our client Chris Mudd, who was faced against one of the toughest job markets in the aftermath of 2022-2023 tech layoffs. Now, he is a highly accomplished engineering leader coming from the world of retail tech and ad tech, and that too in a hyper growth company environment. It took him about 180 interview conversations over a period of 1 year. That's what it took for him to land the desired result, right? And a result like this is truly a testimony of how much amount of sheer grit is sometimes needed to succeed in the job market, and that too in a competitive one, and how a service like ours truly work with our clients for as long and as hard as is needed until we make them succeed. So without further ado, let's crack right into it.
There was one thing I was looking at. So I went into how we were tracking all of these roles, and it seems like over 341 applications we made. Secured some 34 interviews along the way. So that right about puts you on around 10% conversion rate mark, which is that. And then eventually, of course, you land an offer. It seems like we'll also talk about what that offer looks like for you. How do you feel right now?
I feel great. I think there's even more that maybe I wasn't tracking in that place, but I think I did about 1,000 applications just looking at LinkedIn and just seeing like all the ones on there. It was about 1,000. So I think it was about 1,000 applications, and I think I talked to 100 companies and about 184 interviews with 100 companies. It's kind of the numbers I have. So it was a lot.
So I'm lacking on my tracking. That's like even more than I thought.
Yeah. I don't think I was logging everything the way I was supposed to in there, but yeah, it was a lot. I'm tired. I'm happy it's over.
Rightfully so. Because
Yep.
I know this was about this time last year that we connected. So it's been a long journey for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And because I would imagine this would also serve as like a lot of roller coaster along the way, because like there's so many conversation going on your end. What something's working out, something's not working out. We are constantly like, hey, should we target this? Should we target that? Finally, good to have that. Now, how would you describe like the role that you landed and what you see yourself doing in this new role?
I mean, it's the head of engineering role for like a very small startup, about 10 people total, and they just raised a Series A few months back and are looking to start growing out the team and expanding the product base and the engineering team. So it should be some hands-on work coding, but also hiring and building out a tech team as well.
So it's like a long-term, like 3-4 years, build out an organization as the organization scales.
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. And then from a standpoint of one thing I always ask is like, what was your experience with our services throughout and the support that we could get you throughout this process for you?
Yeah, I mean, we were like a factory at one point, just applying and cranking out emails and stuff. But, along the way, I made several rounds of getting to the final stage. And it's just one of those things that every time I did, it was, we've interviewed 3 or 4 people just like you. And this one other person has this one tech thing you don't have, or this one industry thing. And so I guess it's just a very competitive market.
Yeah.
But I think just the way we were working was good in terms of we had that process going of jobs popping up. I was doing a lot of job hunting myself, and I would share the ones I thought were strong fits, obviously in the chat, and then those would pop up. And then just sending the emails and things. I feel like I got a little more engagement with the emails versus LinkedIn. Well, I don't know, maybe the LinkedIn was starting to pick up a little bit at the end, but I think in the early days, the emails seemed to be doing pretty well in terms of, I thought the response rate, I wasn't measuring it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, this is interesting because I've been seeing things on both sides. Some people say they get more traction on LinkedIn. Some people say they get more traction on emails, and both seem to be working. And kind of like a mixed bag strategy, like the multi-channel, multi-lead that we were talking to you. And what we have seen is like, if you go for smaller companies, and this has been my observation, it's like much easier to get a response out of an email versus if you go for larger companies, and this is more of like, hey, you're reaching out to some VP there, and you kind of like warm your conversation up on LinkedIn. That's the way it seems to be working there. So glad that like we had a mixed bag, because initially we were also figuring out like, hey, which would work the best for you. So something worked out there. That's good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that it kind of depends on the company size.
Yeah. Because also what was happening is there were many companies that we went all the way to the executive leadership for you to find out like, hey, this would be the right person. And those conversations end up happening, in fact. So which is like not the case for if you're targeting super big companies. Of course, like there's always gatekeepers to get to those people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the issue. Now, how would you say, like, because you have seen, one thing I would really admire is like you stuck out to the process with the amount of volume it required through, like, what you were on day one is what you maintained till the last day, which, to be honest, this is not something that we see across a lot of job seekers who have gone through it for such a long period of time. So there's definitely your own mindset component to it, or call it whatever. Yeah, I have to find a role. Whatever was the driving factor for you. I guess what would be inspiring for many others would be like, how would you, from your perspective, what would you say to a job seeker who's in a similar shoes as you are?
Yeah, I think it's just got to persevere and keep going. I've faced a lot of rejection. It's definitely was taking a hit to my confidence, but I kind of learned after talking to many different people that it's not me. It's just the market is crazy. There's just so many people out there looking for jobs right now in the tech field. And I've heard from a couple of people who are, insiders at like Google and Apple and stuff. And they're saying that these companies are still doing layoffs every couple of weeks. It's just at 100 people at a time. So it's not making headlines anymore, but they're still just, it's all flying under the radar. But like, they know people getting hit up every week. Like, hey, I just got laid off. And like, it's still happening. And so like the market's just getting more and more people coming in. And I think there's more roles out there now than there was like a year ago, 6 months ago even. But yeah, it's just very competitive. And I think it's just, a lot of persevering and just not taking it personally and keep going through the process.
Do you think the nature of the roles is changing and that's why all of these layoffs were happening? Like from what you were doing historically versus what you would be doing with the whole AI and everything coming up?
Yeah, I don't know if that's affecting it too much yet. Like that probably will come in the next couple of years. I don't think there's much because of the AI changes, at least on the tech side. I think there's other roles and stuff that are maybe getting adjusted because of that. But no, I think it's pretty similar. I think there is a shift to wanting engineering leadership who has a strong technical background, which luckily I did have that. I got a little roughy. So I did some contract work and some consulting with some startups the past 6 months to kind of just get it back into that. And so I think that was super helpful to just brush those skills off and be able to feel confident that you can do that. So I think a lot of these companies are wanting to maybe get rid of the middle layer of management and essentially just have a super strong leader who can do both. And so I think that's super key to balance both of those skills really well.
Right. And that was something because I feel like the nature of the role nature of the company, the DVX, the way you're getting into was very much, in my eyes, is very much related to how you handle the SoftBank investment in their previous organization. And perhaps that could have been a driving factor. I don't know, what was talked about in the interviews.
I think that was definitely a big perk in terms of, I've been through a raise before. I've taken a large chunk of money and built out a team. I think that was definitely good. So DVX is like the venture studio. I'm actually working at a company called Kirby, which is like one of their first companies they launched. It just did a Series A. So it's kind of in a later stage than the rest of them. I interviewed with them first a year ago for a different role. And that was more of a just straight up startup, hands-on, just wanting someone to write code and lead the engineering side at a much smaller scale. I think that was a different role than what they were looking for this role I ended up getting. And yeah, it just seems like they really want technical people who can get their hands dirty and are good at that. So that's what they were focused on in the early days.
Got it. Nice. So now that you have landed a role, arduous process of the search is over. How are you celebrating?
I'm going on vacation next week. I'm taking a much needed vacation with the family. We're going to San Diego and just sitting on the beach for a while.
Okay, yeah. And so San Diego at this time of the year would be slightly chilly, I would say, because
yeah, it might be. We wanted to go to the beach. We were going to go to Florida, but Florida got hit. Florida's a mess right now. So we ended up diverting to the West Coast. And yeah, it might be a little cold, but that's fine. My daughter just wants to play. She wants to play in the sand anyway. So that's what we'll do.
That's cool. And you head out this weekend?
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Good. And me personally, I'm very happy that we are having this conversation. Like I said, when you signed in and with the rate that we were getting the interviews in, I thought I was very hopeful, I guess, this process should move fast. But like you said, with the sheer amount of competition, even with the interviews being landed, the conversations are happening and falling apart, I'm glad that we have finally reached that point. Well, do I wish like this could have been faster? Oh yeah, hell yeah. Better late than never. Of course, never going to be never, but it's
No, I'm glad. I appreciate all the help for it's been again a long time. I know it's working your team quite a bit to help with that. So I don't know if you have other clients who are also taking a long time, or if I was an exception. But I definitely appreciate the persistence and the team.
Yeah, definitely. What really did help us, and this is something like, I don't know if it's a feedback for your partnership with somebody else later down, like not for this kind of service, but with anyone, but it was lovely working with you. At no point we got ever tired of like, hey, we have been working with Chris for such a long time. When are we going to see the result? Because like, the communication with you was super prompt, super precise in terms of like, hey, whatever we wanted, you gave us. You were pretty prompt in acting upon what all the set process was. And it was generally a nice, chill relationship. So it was very fun working with you. And I'm really pleased that you have the result. That said, I'll let you enjoy your vacation and let's keep in touch. And then all the best for your next role. I'll follow up with you in the next 12 months just to see how things are going in your next role. And then,
Sounds good. Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Chris. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.